Hey everyone, today we're going to be taking a look at page 3 in your lesson book. Remember last week on page 2 we started an introduction to shifting. So if you're a violin or a viola, last week we only played in third position. So technically violins and violas haven't shifted yet because shifting means you go from one position to another. But you're playing in third position, which is the first step to being able to shift. And everyone did a really nice job with that. Cellos and basses, you had the opportunity to do some shifting, right? Because you couldn't do it all in one position. So we're kind of at different points with this, but this page 3 is basically a review of the skills we learned last week. So now we're taking what we did in those pretty simple exercises and applying them to some pieces and some other things that we're going to work through. So if you open up to page 3, and we're going to start with number 8. And by the way, we're not going to do quite everything on this page today, and that's okay. There's a lot on here. We're taking a look at number 8, and you can probably tell by looking at this pattern that it's a pattern you've played before. It starts on a G, and it goes up one note at a time until it hits the highest G. And if you're thinking that sounds like a G major scale, you are correct. This is what we call the second octave of a G major scale. So everyone, you all learned a G major scale in 4th grade, and that started on open G. Today, the G major scale we're going to play starts with G on the D string. G on the D string. So let me talk about what this is going to look like for violins and violas. Then I'll say what it's going to look like for the cellos, and then we will play it together. So violins, the first thing, violins and violas, someone pointed out to me, maybe I should have used different terminology when we talked about those finger patterns last week. And I have them up here on the board, and I called this, I can read it here. I called this the A pattern, where you had your second and third finger close to each other. And I called this the B pattern, where you had your third and fourth finger close to each other. I didn't want to throw extra numbers or anything at you, so that's why I called it A and B. But as we get further in the book, they actually name these finger patterns, and so maybe I should tell you what they're named. So the names actually really make sense. We call this the 2-3 finger pattern. The patterns are named after where the half step is. So the 2-3 finger pattern has a half step between your second and third finger. And you can probably guess we call this the 3-4 finger pattern. So we have a half step between our third and fourth finger. So I'm going to start calling it that from now on. Cellos and cellos, you still don't have to worry about those names. Yours is different. But violins and violas, you're going to be using this 3-4 pattern for this entire page. They don't go back to that 2-3 pattern for a little while. And when you play this G major scale, you're going to start with one finger in third position, and you're just going to do that 3-4 pattern 2 times, once on the D string and once on the A string. So you're going to have first finger, space, space, close, then one on the A string, space, space, close. All of the same notes that we played last week, now we're just doing 2 strings at the same time. We're going to play that in a second, but first, cellos, you actually start in first position. So you're starting with G, 4 fingers on your D string, and you're going to play G, G, A, B, C natural, 2 fingers, okay? D, D, shift to 4th position, 1, 1, 3, 4. So you only have to shift for the top 3 notes in the scale, and the fingering you'll do is 1, 3, 4. There aren't any extensions or anything like that. It's just regular old 4th position. The big thing is to make sure you shift high enough. This is a great exercise for everybody because we all know what a scale is supposed to sound like. So if it doesn't sound like a scale, you'll know and you'll be able to correct where your fingers are. So right now, everyone find that first note, G. Remember, cellos, you're going to be in first position, and that's okay. I'm playing it the violin and viola way. Okay, and we're going to try this scale. Watch out for the rhythm. It is different than we would normally do for a scale, but that is okay. All right, 1, 2, here we go. Space. Now close. that's how to play that second octave of the G scale. Eventually, we'll be able to play what's called a 2-octave G major scale, and we'll talk about that in class, actually, in the next couple of weeks. The big thing, especially for violins and violas, if it didn't sound right, my guess, normally what people do incorrectly the first time, is that you didn't have a big enough space between your second and third finger, because we're not used to doing that. Or maybe you didn't quite tuck your your fourth finger right next to your third finger. Those are the two things I would guess are giving you trouble. Cellos, this is pretty straightforward. We've been doing stuff like this for a long time. So just that little shift up, 1, 3, 4, and it shouldn't be that bad. So taking a look now at number 9. This is one of the few times in this book when you get like a fill in the blank kind of puzzle. And so cellos, again, you're in first position for a good chunk of this. When you do shift up, you have 4 blanks to fill in. Violins and violas, they want you to fill in every note because this whole thing is in third position. So they want you to figure out all of the fingerings. We're not going to do that right now. I'm going to give that to you as an assignment. But, excuse me, if you're having questions about a finger for a note, all you have to do is look back on page 2, and we've played all of these notes on page 2. So it shouldn't give you that much of a problem. And if you have a question, just go back and look at the page 2. What I will do, though, is play number 9 for you. So once you write in your fingerings and you go to play it, you can know what it's supposed to sound like. So this is what number 9 should sound like. And you may have caught that as you go backwards there, that kind of sounds like that G major scale we just played. So you can use that as a hint to help you out as well. We actually are going to skip number 10. You're welcome to do it at home, and if we have time in our lesson, we'll go over it. But just for time's sake, because there's a lot on this page, like I said, we're going to keep moving to number 11, French folk song. This is a really great tune to practice third position and then obviously fourth position for our cellos, but to practice these positions because there's a lot of repetition and it's really the tune many of you probably know. So just like with that scale, you could tell if you were doing the wrong thing. Once you get this tune in your head, you'll be able to say, hang on, that doesn't sound quite right, and then fix where your fingers are. So we're going to do this in little like 4 measures at a time to make sure that we understand what each group of measures is supposed to sound like. We start with the highest note that we've played so far with shifting, a high G. So cellos, you're in 4th position and using your 4th finger. Violins and violas, you're in 3rd position and using your 4th finger. So everyone find that note right now. It should sound like this. Okay. Once you have it, if you're a violin or a viola, make sure that you have the 3-4 pattern. So space, space, close. First finger is where your 3rd finger normally goes. That pinky is where we just found that note. And then 3rd finger goes right next to that and then a space back. Okay. And we're looking at the first 4 measures. We're all staying on the A string the whole time, right? And it looks pretty straightforward. Cellos on that last note on the 4th measure, you do have to go back to 1st position. So just know that that's something different that you have to do. Okay, let's try these 4 measures together. Ready, here we go. Okay, so if you're a violin or a viola, 4, 4, 4, 3, 3, 3, 2, 3, 4, 1. We get a chance to play every note in 3rd position on the A string. Now let's look at the next 4 measures. Sorry, I'm getting my instruments mixed up. Cellos, this is all in 1st position. So you can do this. You don't need my help with this at all. So you can actually fast forward a little bit while I talk to the violins and violas because you stay in 1st position all the way until the very, very end. So if you know that you can play that and you want to fast forward, you're welcome to do that. Okay. Violins and violas, we have now, it says 4 fingers over that next note. We're in measure 5. That's 4 fingers on the D string in 3rd position. So we were here on the A string, and we just ended with a 1. And the next lowest note is then to put 4 fingers on the D string. Should sound like this. And remember, we still have our 3/4 pattern. So let's see, this looks like kind of like a backwards scale. So I know we can all almost sight read this, I'm sure. Here's measures 5, 6, 7, and 8. Ready? Here we go. Okay. Looking at the next 4 measures, I said there was a lot of repetition in this, and this is where that repetition starts. The next 3 measures are identical, right? G, A, B. And if you think about our third position, how you would play those notes, G, A, B, it's going to be 1, 2, 3, and they're all going to have spaces in between your fingers. So it'll sound like this. Okay. So you do that 3 times, and then on the 4th measure, you have a C. Remember, we're doing a 3/4 pattern. Pinky goes right next to our 3rd finger. So I'm going to play the next 4 measures. Here we go. Okay, next, there's more repetition, but it's a different pattern. We have A, B, C. So instead of 1, 2, 3 that we just played, it's going to be 2, 3, 4. We do that 3 times, and then the dotted half note is a D after that, 1 finger on the A string. So it'll sound like this. Okay. And lastly, the last group of 4 measures, and this is where the cellos can join us again. We go back to that high G, that 4 fingers in 3rd position or 4th position if you're a cello. And we basically do a backwards scale. You can see it's G, F sharp, E, D, C, B, A, G. So there's the backwards G major scale. And then we just go A, G to end it. So backwards G major scale with a couple of extra notes at the end. So if you felt really comfortable with number 8, this part should be a piece of cake for you. Okay, cellos, you're doing 4, 3, 1, back to 1st position. 4, 2, 1, open. And then they have you do something kind of interesting at the end. You're going to go up to 3rd position on the D string and do 1, 3, 1 for the G, A, G. So let me play the last 4 measures for you. Everyone find your high G. Okay, and here we go. Ready? Here we go. Okay, there's a lot going on with those 4 measures, and you might need to do it slowly before you can really do it up the tempo. The rest of this is pretty easy to play fast, but that one you really have to know exactly where your fingers go to be able to get that. So I'm going to play through all of number 11. Remember, if you still need time to work on this, that is okay. I don't expect anyone to be able to do this the first time you hear it, but I want you to know what it sounds like. So I'm going to play through it. You can either play with me or you can listen and then take some time to practice through it. So I'm going to find my high G. Okay, and here we go. 1, 2, 3. So a super catchy tune and a great way to practice all of those notes in 3rd position. We're going to end by going through number 12. Okay, again, Violins and violas, we stay in third position the whole time. Cellos, you have a mix of actually you have a mix of every position that you know. So first, third extended, and fourth. So this one is a little bit tough for the cellos, but that's okay. They're ready for a good challenge. We'll take this a little bit at a time here. And right now I'm going to play from the beginning all the way through the second measure, leaving out those eighth notes. The eighth notes, we'll hit those in a second. Okay. Oh, I take that back. I'm sorry. I'm going to play until the half note. So I'm actually leaving out the eighth notes and the quarter note. Okay. This is what that should sound like. Okay, cellos, you're in first position, so that's not a problem. Violins and violas, it's almost entirely on the D string until you get to that last note, and that's 1 on A, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Okay, now after that half note, cellos, you shift and you go to fourth position. 1, 3, 4, 3, 1. Try that with me, cellos. It's going to sound like this. 1, 3, 4, 3, 1. We'll do it one more time with cellos. Ready, and after that, you go back to first position. Okay, making sure you get all the way back to first. If I start on the quarter and then the 2/8 for violin or viola, that is 2 fingers. It's an E. 2 fingers on the A string. 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then this is the weird part. It doesn't go down to 4. It goes down to 3 on the D string. So 1, 3, 4. That is tough. That's really tough. Let's try that. We're starting from our E. So cellos, you are now in fourth position. Violins and violas, we have 2 fingers down in third position on the A string. Okay, ready, here we go. Awesome. Now we have another quarter note with 2 eighth notes after it. Cellos, you are now in extended third position. Remember, that's the one where you have your first finger down and then you stretch a whole step to get to your second finger. And violins, and violas, we're still hanging out on the A string in third position with our first finger on the D. For everyone, it's going to sound like this, the next section. And that's a pretty tough, that's one of the harder sections of this. Cellos, you hopefully caught that you do go back to first position at the end of that little section. Let me play it one more time. Okay, and then the ending here, and I'm going to go right to the second ending. I'm not going to worry about repeating for right now, and you can do the same when you practice. Okay, I'm on, let's see if I can tell you the measure. Don't count the first 2 notes, those aren't a measure, but if you start after the repeat sign, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I'm on the third beat of measure 6. The note is a C. Again, violins and violas still in third position, but cellos, you play 1 note in first position, and then you go right up to third. Okay? It sounds like this. Okay? So I'm going to play this whole thing for you. Number 12 is definitely the most challenging one. I don't want you to worry if you can't do number 12 before your lesson. I really want you to have down 8 and 9 and 11. And then whatever time we have left, we will work on 12. But please know this one is definitely a challenge. And that's okay. It's good to have a challenge every once in a while, right? So let's get ourselves ready. I'm going to play through all of number 12. See if you can do it with me. Okay, I'm setting down my fingers, making sure I'm in third position. Cellos, you start in first, but you know when to shift. Your book has marked it for you. So here we go. 1, 2, ready, here we go. So that's some more practice with shifting. Again, feel free to let me know if you have questions, but we will spend a lot of time in these at your next lesson. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you at your lesson.